Welcome back to Drive Genius, and in this video, we're going to take a look at Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU. We've already done a video on Jamar Chase, so if you haven't seen that video, be sure to go on our channel and take a look at that video. This video here will be slightly different as we take a look at one game in particular from LSU this past season. It'll be their game versus Auburn. LSU ended up winning this game 23-20, and I believe it was probably one of their closest games of the season, if not the closest game of the season for LSU. Jamar Chase finished with 8 catches for 123 yards, and he did some really good things throughout this game. So I just want to take a look at a few plays and just break down this game, look at some things that he did well in this game, and point out some things that he didn't do so well and that he can work on. So on this first play, LSU comes out in a 3-by-1 set. They've got stacked receivers down to the field, and Jamar Chase is the solo receiver to the boundary at the top of the screen. The two receivers that are stacked, they come out and they run double post, and they're essentially just trying to take the top off of the defense. The tight end is coming on an under route across the field, and he's essentially a check down on this play. But the guy they're trying to hit on this play is Jamar Chase coming across the field on the deep crossing route. So Auburn came out in this game and they played a lot of press coverage. They tried to get physical with the LSU receivers, and it's noticeable throughout the game. And I'm not shocked by them doing that. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson put up crazy numbers this past season, so he really had to try to figure out some way to slow those guys down. And I guess Auburn's response to them was to come out and be physical with their corners and be physical and get hands on those guys to try to disrupt their routes, to try to throw off the timing or gain any little advantage that they could. They did have a first-round pick at corner, so they probably felt good with the matchup on LSU's receivers with at least one of those guys. So that's essentially what they try to do here. They try to get physical with Jamar Chase, but he's absolutely not having it on this play. As I mentioned before, he's running the deep over route, the crossing route, trying to get across the field here. The corner that's aligned over him, he's in press coverage, and he has inside leverage. So Jamar Chase is really going to have to work if he wants to get open on this play. The corner does a good job of getting his hands on Jamar Chase, and he's riding him for about 6-7 yards before Jamar Chase is able to get free. And that's the most impressive thing right here to me, is because whenever Jamar Chase was in these situations where he had press coverage on him, he did a pretty good job of getting free of that. And it's no different right here on this play. Now, once he gets to the NFL, he will see press coverage a lot more. In the NFL, this would be a penalty right here by that DB because you can't have that type of contact on a receiver after 5 yards, so he won't see this type of press coverage. But, you know, going out here and playing against these Auburn guys and seeing them come out and press and having a battle against that throughout this game, he really, really impressed me with the way he was able to do that. That's probably one of his biggest strengths is his physicality. And he's not afraid to get physical back with anybody that's guarding him. He's not afraid of the bump. He's out there, in my opinion, he's out there looking for contact. And if you want to come up and press him, if you want to put your corners and press coverage on him and try to get physical with him, then you really have to come with it because he's able to get free as he is right here, and he's able to get open for a pretty good gain around the Auburn's 45-yard line. Right here on this next play, you get the same type of look from the Auburn corners. They're playing press coverage. Jamar Chase is to the bottom of the screen, to the boundary. LSU comes out in another 3-by-1 set. And what they're essentially running here is all go, all verticals. Now, typically, you know, from my playing days and from my coaching days, if you put a guy, you know, in these 3-by-1 sets and he's to the boundary, then that's your dog. That's your receiver that you know, whatever the coverage is, he's going to be able to get open, and you trust him to go up and make a play here. And it's no different right here for Jamar Chase. He's to the boundaries, getting press coverage by that corner here. He could have done a better job on the release. He doesn't really move the DB that much, and he doesn't have blazing speed. I think he has good speed, especially when he's out in the open field with the ball in his hands. But he's not a guy that's just going to just flat out run past guys, especially in a press coverage situation like this. I don't see him as a guy that's just going to turn it on and outrun anybody. So he really has to do a better job of working releases at the line of scrimmage. But it doesn't really matter right here. He gets free. The corner tries to get a hand on him. The corner's not really able to get too physical with him right here, but Jamar Chase isn't able to create much separation as that corner is running stride for stride with him. It's kind of like a back shoulder fade here. And once the ball is thrown, Jamar Chase tracks the ball. He's able to stick his foot in the ground, and he has good body control. So he really does a good job of coming back to this ball and making the play. Like I said, he tracks the ball. Once the ball is in the air, sticks that upfield foot in the ground. He's able to adjust his body while he's on the run and stop on a dime and come back and make this play. Now, that's the type of stuff that he's going to have to be able to do in the NFL. Like I mentioned before, they will try to press him. They will try to get physical with him. And in the NFL, you're not going to be able to create as much separation as you think. To be honest, about a step and a half is as open as you're going to get in the NFL. So to see Jamar Chase be able to make these plays with tight coverage when you have a DB that's running stride for stride with him, and he's able to go up and make these plays while he's essentially covered, is what I like to see and what I look at when I'm evaluating receivers. Those are the types of things that I look at, and I think Jamar Chase does an excellent job of that. Next play here, you have LSU coming out in the 5-wide set. You have Jamar Chase in the slot to the boundary. He's to the 2 receiver side, and he's just running a slant right here. Like I said before, like on the previous 2 plays, Auburn's coming out and they're trying to get physical. They're trying to press that guy at the line of scrimmage, trying to knock him off his route, trying to mess up the timing on their routes. The defender that's over Jamar Chase here is able to get hands on him once again. Like I said, he doesn't do much with his release to move that guy, but what he does do well is that he's physical. He fights through that contact. He fights through that defender trying to get hands on him, and he's able to make the tough catch with the defender draped all over him. Now, there could have been a penalty flag thrown on this play because that guy is really, really aggressive and he's really, really physical with Jamar Chase, but at the end of the day, penalty wasn't thrown, and it doesn't matter as Jamar Chase is able to get free. He's able to use his physicality to get free, and he's able to use his body to shield the defender away from the ball. And he makes the tough catch. He makes a tough play on this right here, and it's just another example of the type of things that he can give you, especially from a physical standpoint out there at receiver. Final play here, LSU comes out in a 3-by-1 set once again. Jamar Chase, like I said before, you're going to put your dog. He's that X receiver that's going to be aligned to the boundary, and that's where they put Jamar Chase right here. He's to the boundary. Your 3 receiver side is to the top of the screen to the field, and they run that same all-go concept that they ran earlier in the game. They bring the tight end underneath as essentially a check down, but this ball is going to Jamar Chase the entire way. Auburn comes out in that press coverage again. They roll that safety to the middle of the field, away from the boundary, away from Jamar Chase. So what that tells me is that the quarterback is going to him and he's got to win. Like I said before, that ball is coming to him the entire way. Doesn't give much here as far as a release. And the best thing about this right here is that he doesn't give up ground. Once he gets outside of those numbers or to the bottom of those numbers, he remains there. He's about 2 yards to the bottom of the numbers, and he's not getting forced outside to the sideline. And that's an important thing. You're going to have to be able to hold that line. You're going to have to go pretty much no further than the midpoint between the bottom of the numbers and the sideline if you want to be effective on these fade routes. And the reason for that is to give your quarterback enough room for error because he's making that throw, and that's a tough throw if he doesn't have a ton of room out there because you've gotten pushed out to the sideline. So Jamar Chase does a good job of holding that line right here. He is able to create some separation. He gets about a step and a half on this DB, and that's all you're going to get at the next level. So you're going to have to be able to make plays with this type of coverage. Like I said, they were pressing the entire game, and he was able to beat that press coverage most of the day. It's a perfectly thrown ball. It's up in the way. It's away from the defender on Jamar Chase's outside shoulder. He's able to run up under it, and he's tackled right here at about the 8-yard line. I wish he was able to stay on his feet and get in the end zone, but he's able to make a really good play right here against tight press coverage. So like I said before, Jamar Chase, I do have him as my top receiver. It was a debate between him and Justin Ross from Clemson, but Justin Ross won't be playing this season because of injury. So I expect Jamar Chase to be on everybody's radar going into the season as the number 1 guy as far as receivers go. I do think he does some things well. From a physicality standpoint, he has great hands. He's physical. He's strong. He has good size. I don't think he's the fastest guy, but I do think once he gets out in the open field and he has the ball in his hands, he can run well enough to make some things happen. And he's physical and good after the catch as well. So that's another good thing about Jamar Chase. But this video, I just wanted to point out a few things that he did well. Like I said, they were pressing him the entire game. Auburn was. And those corners that they had, they aren't slouches on the other side. They were bigger, physical type of corners, and he was able to win regardless of that. And those are the types of things that he's going to have to be able to do at the next level. I think he's clearly wide receiver 1 coming out in this class, and I think his skill set can translate to the NFL really well.